Welcome back to You're 18, Now What? I'm your host, Dr. Catherine Gilstein, and this is the podcast where we talk about navigating adulthood, building confidence, creating opportunities, and learning the real life lessons that are not always taught. Today's episode, it's a little more personal. It's about gratitude. It's about recognizing progress, and it's about celebrating the moments that remind us that our work matters. And it is also about having the courage to keep moving forward, even when we don't know exactly where the journey will lead. Recently, my book, You're 18 Now What, was selected as a featured title by the Novel Tourist Book Club, Adventures in Reading in Real Life. Just saying those words out loud feels incredibly meaningful. Featured title. There's something special about knowing that a book that you spent so much time writing, developing, editing, and believing in is being recognized by a community of readers. So I am deeply grateful for that recognition. I am grateful to the Novel Tourist Book Club for choosing my book. I am grateful to every person who has read it, recommended it, talked about it, and shared it with a young adult or supported the message behind it. I'm also excited to share that I recently entered my book into the 2027 International Book Awards. Of course, I don't know what that final outcome will be, but that's just part of the experience. But today, I want to talk about why entering the competition is already somewhat worth celebrating. Because sometimes success is not winning the award. Sometimes success is believing in your work enough just to enter. So that idea applies to so much more than books. It applies to applying for a job. It applies to submitting a college application. It applies to asking for a promotion or a raise. It applies to starting a business, auditioning for a role, pitching an idea, applying for a scholarship, or just introducing yourself to someone new or sharing your work with the world. So before anyone else can recognize your potential, you are the one that usually has to be willing to recognize it yourself. So you have to believe that your work deserves to be considered. You have to believe that your voice deserves to be heard. And you have to believe that you belong in the room. You are your best advocate. This does not mean that you will always feel completely confident. It doesn't mean that you'll never feel nervous, because you will. And it doesn't mean that you know that everything will work out exactly as planned, because sometimes you just don't know. Courage is not having complete certainty. Courage is taking the next step without complete certainty. So that's what I want to explore today: gratitude, growth, and saying yes to the next opportunity. Gratitude does not mean that you stop growing. Sometimes people misunderstand gratitude. They think that being grateful means being satisfied with everything just exactly as it is. Sometimes they think that if you're truly grateful, you shouldn't want for anything more. But gratitude and ambition can exist at the same time. So you can appreciate where you are while still working toward where you want to go. So you can celebrate a milestone while setting a new goal for yourself. You could be thankful for your current opportunities while you're preparing yourself for future ones. So gratitude does not mean you stop growing. Gratitude gives you a stronger foundation from which to grow. So when we constantly focus on what we have not achieved, it can feel as though we're never making progress. There will always be another goal. There will always be someone who appears to be further ahead. There will always be something else we think we need to accomplish before we are finally allowed to feel successful. But if you never pause to recognize your progress, you may spend your life chasing success without ever appreciating what you have already done. So that's why milestones matter. A milestone doesn't have to be the final destination. It simply marks how far you have come from where you started. So if you think about having a long trip, you may still have hundreds of miles ahead of you, but when you pass a sign showing how far you have traveled, it kind of gives you a little bit of perspective. So you realize that you're no longer where you started, and that matters. So being selected as a featured title is one of those signs for me. It's a reminder that my book is reaching readers. It's a reminder that the message continues to have value. It's a reminder that the work is moving forward. So even when I cannot always see every result immediately, because there's just no way to map that, um, entering the International Book Awards is another milestone. So for that, it represents hope and confidence and a willingness to keep putting the book in front of new audiences. So whether or not an award follows, that action itself is meaningful for me. So I made the decision to enter. I gave the book another opportunity to be seen, and I placed my work in the room. And that's all I can do. Control what I can control. So put your work in the room. I love that phrase. So many people create something valuable but never give anyone the opportunity to see it. So they might write the manuscript, but it's never submitted. They might develop an idea, but it's never presented. They improve their resume, but they don't apply for the job. So execution is key. You might want to dream about a business, but you don't open your first account or create the website or contact the first customer. So it's just taking that first step. Some people tell themselves they're waiting for the right time. Well, when is the right time? They're waiting to feel ready. They're waiting until the work is perfect. Perfection can become a hiding place. It can protect us from rejection, but it also protects us from opportunities that can arise. So when your work stays hidden, it can't be criticized, but it also can't be chosen. It cannot be recommended, it cannot be published, it cannot be purchased or celebrated or help anyone. So at some point, you need to put your work in the room. And it doesn't mean you stop improving it, because you might get feedback, and feedback is good. Criticism is good. It'll help you to refine it. So it also means that you allow it to have a life beyond your own thoughts. So when I wrote You're 18 Now What, I wanted to help people understand some of the practical responsibilities that they might face as they enter adulthood. I also wanted to represent the book to parents of those young adults so that they can have a footprint to speak to those adult children and help them manage those conversations. So topics like credit, insurance, investing, job searches, money, decision making, building a professional life, it can all feel very overwhelming. So a lot of people are expected to know how to manage these things, even though no one has clearly explained them to them. So you don't know what you don't know. So the book was created to make those conversations more approachable. As I say in the beginning of the book, money is so important, but nobody wants to talk about it. But writing the book was only one part of the journey. Publishing it required another level of coverage. So promoting it was another level. Talking about it publicly was another level. Putting myself out there. That was uncomfortable for me, but I know the message that the book has, and I know that it resonates with so many people. So sending it to readers and organizations and reviewers and book clubs and competitions, that was another level of courage. And sometimes you don't get great feedback, and you need to take that in as well. Not everybody is going to love the book. Not everybody is going to love the concept. Not everybody is going to agree with it, and that's okay. But every stage asks you to believe in your work again. So that's something that people don't always tell you. You don't build confidence once and keep it forever. You need to choose confidence repeatedly. You choose it when you begin, you choose it when you continue, you choose it when the response is slower than expected, you choose it when someone says no, and a lot of people said no. You choose it when someone says yes, and when you get that yes, wow, this publisher really wants to work with me, that's so much confidence right there. And then you choose it again when a new opportunity appears. So recognition often follows quiet work. So we tend to notice the public moment, and we see the award announcement, we see the promotion, graduation photo, the published book, the business launch. We see the celebration. What we don't always see are the quiet years behind those moments. We don't see the early mornings, the late nights, the drafts that didn't work, the applications that were rejected. We don't see the uncertainty. So it's kind of like when you're looking at social media and you're seeing people post all this content and they're successful. They didn't start out successful, they started out slow and they kept at it. So it's that consistency and resiliency that kept them going. So recognition often comes after years of quiet, consistent effort. So it can be dangerous to compare your beginning to someone else's visible accomplishments. You're not in the same place. You may be looking at their celebration, but you don't know the full story behind the celebration and how they got there. So you can assume that their success happened quickly because you weren't there to witness the preparation. But almost every meaningful accomplishment, there's a hidden history behind it. So even when a college student earns a degree, the ceremony is a couple of hours, but the degree, that was years of classes, assignments, exams, projects, sacrifices, persistence. Even when someone receives a promotion, the announcement is one email, but it can represent years of learning, problem solving, relationship building, taking on responsibilities that no one else wanted. So when you think about an entrepreneur who opens a successful business, customers are seeing the polished website or the finished product. They're not seeing the months spent planning, researching, budgeting, making mistakes, starting over, building. So the visible result is only the final chapter of that much longer story. So that's why you should never dismiss your quiet work. The work you're doing today, it may not receive immediate recognition, and that's okay. But it does not mean it has no value. Every skill that you develop matters. Every meaningful connection matters. Every attempt matters. Every time you improve your work, you're preparing for an opportunity you may not even know about yet. So celebrate before the final outcome. One of the hardest things for goal-oriented people is allowing themselves to celebrate before they reach the final result. I'll celebrate when I get the job. I'll celebrate when I finish the degree. I'll celebrate when I reach the income goal. Why? Celebrate the small wins along the way. I'll celebrate when someone publishes the book, if I win. Remember the progress along the way. What about completing the application, finishing that first semester, surviving a difficult month, getting the interview, completing the manuscript, just entering the competition? All of those moments matter too. So celebrating progress doesn't make you less motivated. It helps you to stay motivated to go to the next level. So when you recognize your progress, you are reminding yourself that effort creates movement. And that reminder can give you the energy to keep going. So celebrations don't have to be dramatic. It could be as simple as just telling someone you trust, writing the accomplishment in a journal, going out for a coffee or a dinner. It could be your way of allowing yourself to say, I'm proud of what I did. For me, just getting the recognition for the book and being a featured title, I posted it on LinkedIn. I'm very proud of that. I want people to see it. So some people are comfortable encouraging other people, but uncomfortable acknowledging themselves. So we tell our friends to be proud of their accomplishments. We congratulate our coworkers. We celebrate our children, our students, family members, colleagues. But when it comes to our own achievements, we tend to minimize them. We might say, it's not a big deal. Anybody could have done it. And we immediately move on. But gratitude asks us to pause. It asks us to be present long enough to recognize the meaning of the moment. So being grateful for recognition does not mean that I believe the journey is complete. It means that I understand that this moment deserves to be appreciated. I can be grateful that the book was selected as a featured title. I can be excited that it has been entered into the 2027 International Book Awards. But I can also continue thinking about how to reach more readers, how to create more resources, how to develop future projects, and expand the impact of the message. So celebration and forward motion can exist together. Gratitude builds confidence and perspective. So it's often discussed as a way to feel happier, but it's also a powerful way to build confidence. So when you regularly recognize what you have accomplished, what you have survived, what you have learned along the way, you create evidence that you're capable. So it's not just a feeling. Confidence is often built from evidence. You can look back on it and say, I really handled that difficult situation well. Can't believe I completed that project in that timeline. Can't believe I was able to learn that skill. I recovered from that disappointment. I asked for help. I took the chance. I kept going. All of that evidence gives you something to draw from when the next challenge appears. So you may not know exactly how you will handle the future, but you can remember that you have handled difficult things in the past. So gratitude also gives you perspective. It reminds you that your current situation is not the entire story. It does not require you to pretend everything is fine. It does not ask you to ignore disappointment, stress, grief, or frustration. It's just asking that you notice that even in an imperfect season, there may still be something meaningful, supportive, or hopeful. So you might only be grateful for one person who encouraged you, grateful that you had the courage to begin again, grateful for an opportunity that did not work out because it redirected you towards something better. Gratitude is not denial, it's perspective. It allows us to hold more than one truth at a time. We can be disappointed and hopeful at the same time. We can be tired and proud at the same time. We can also be uncertain and courageous. You do not have to feel ready. Another important lesson in entering an award competition, submitting your work, or taking a meaningful chance, you don't have to feel completely ready because most people don't. Readiness is often created through action. So you become more comfortable speaking by continuing to speak. You become a stronger writer by writing. You become better at interviews by interviewing. So waiting until you feel completely ready can keep you waiting forever. There's always going to be another revision you can make, another qualification you can earn. There's somebody with more experience, another reason to delay. But at some point, you should have to decide that being prepared enough is enough to take the next step. It doesn't mean being careless. It's understanding the difference between preparation and avoidance. There's that fear of success. What if you do move forward? What if it does go through? What if you do get that promotion? So avoidance keeps you standing still while convincing yourself that you're being responsible. But ask yourself honestly, are you still preparing or are you hiding? And that can be an uncomfortable question, but it can also be freeing. So maybe you do not need to rewrite the resume for the 10th time. Maybe you just need to apply. You do not need everyone's approval. You need to trust your own judgment. So, a challenge for this week? Well, I want to give you two. The first is to identify one accomplishment you may be overlooking. It does not have to be something that would impress anything else, but it just has to simply matter to you. Maybe it was you completed something difficult. Maybe you made a responsible financial decision, asked for help, started therapy, returned to school, whatever the case may be. Write it down, say it out loud. Tell someone you trust. And do not add the word but. Don't say, I did this, but I still have so much left to do. Let the accomplishment stand on its own. Say, I did this. I'm proud of this. I'm grateful for this. Second challenge is to take one next step toward a goal. Not 10 steps, just one. So either make the phone call, register for the course, enter the competition, send the proposal, publish the post, just finish the first page. So you don't have to complete the entire journey this week. You only have to move. Just move, small steps. They're not dramatic, but they do create momentum and they do add up over time. So, as I think about my own reflection for being a featured title, that recognition and entering the International Book Awards, I keep coming back to one thought. I'm grateful for the recognition, but I'm equally grateful that I had the courage to write the book and publish it and promote it and continue placing it in rooms where new readers are discovering it. So the recognition is meaningful, but the courage came first. The writing came first. The decision to share the work came first. So remember, before the award comes the courage. Before the acceptance comes the application. Before the opportunity comes the introduction. So your decision to try matters. Your decision to enter matters. Your decision to believe that your work is worth celebrating and considered matters. No one can guarantee the result, but you can decide whether you're willing to participate in the possibility, what it means to put your work in the room. You're not asking the world to choose you. You're giving the world the opportunity to consider you. You're saying, here's what I created. Here's what I can contribute. Here's how I believe I can help. Here's my voice. So as we close today, I want you to think about where you are in your own journey. What have you accomplished that you are not fully acknowledging? What quiet work have you been doing? What opportunity have you been considering? What are you waiting to feel ready for? And what would happen if you took that one small step today? Remember, gratitude is not the end of ambition. It's what helps us recognize that the journey already has meaning. So celebrate the small win, appreciate that milestone, and thank the people who have helped you. The people who have helped me are all of you. All of my listeners, all of my subscribers, all the people who have purchased the book, all the people who have read the book. So success is not winning the award. Sometimes success is just believing in your work enough to enter. So thank you again to the Novel Tourist Book Club, Adventures in Reading in Real Life, for selecting You're 18 Now What as a featured title. And as the book enters the 2027 International Book Awards, I'm choosing to be grateful for the opportunity, proud of the journey, and excited about what may come next. We'll find out the results soon. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building the future you deserve. Remember, be invaluable for what you share, not what you know. See you next time on You're 18 Now What, where you can always find the latest podcast episode to listen to, follow, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you.